learned about the features of a tall tale. We learned that a tall tale is usually a funny story with exaggerations. The main character is a hero or a heroine and often is based on a real person. We also learned that the hero has superhuman strengths and skills. The hero has to fight or outwit a bully in the form of nature, an animal, a machine, or a group of people. And the hero may have a helper that might be an animal or object. So today we are going to read a short tall tale called Mighty Joe Macarac. Here is our story. As I'm reading to you today, I want you to be looking for evidence and descriptions that help you to understand how the author is structuring the story. So how is the story set up? Follow along with me as I read. Mighty Joe Macarac. Some people say that Joe Macarac was born inside a mountain where people mined iron. Others say Joe slept on a bed of iron or next to the blast furnace. Still others say that Joe never slept at all, working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, making steel. No matter what anyone says about Joe Macarac, one thing is true. Joe was the greatest steelworker ever. He could easily twist iron rods with his bare hands. He could mold train tracks with his fingers. Once, when the huge mixer at the steel mill broke, Joe jumped right into that vat of hot, melted metal. He stirred up the 1200-degree liquid steel with his feet. He used his sweat to put out a fire that spread from the furnace. Then Joe Macarac personally made 2,000 tons of steel. He made enough steel for the railroad company to lay down track from Pittsburgh to New York and back. All right, so thinking about the story that we just read, let's go back to the evidence of a tall tale. Was there a hero who had superhuman strength and skills? Yes, there was. Okay, the main character is a hero and often is based on a real person. So in this case, I wasn't able to identify who the story would have been based off of. It says a tall tale is usually a funny story with exaggerations. There were most definitely exaggerations in that story. The hero may have a helper that might be an animal or an object. Think to yourself, did he have a helper? And did the hero have to fight or outwit a bully in the form of nature, an animal, a machine, or a group of people? So a lot of these features were identified within our story that we read today. I want you to ask yourself some of these questions and just kind of take some time to sit and think about them. So the author includes one sentence in the story that sums up the whole tall tale. What is that sentence? If you were able to say the sentence, Joe was the greatest steelworker ever, that would have been the exaggeration that the author is structuring this tale off of. He is exaggerating. He is doing one exaggeration after another after another. Which exaggeration does the illustration support? So take a look at the picture. What is Joe doing? We see that he is bending steel. So he can easily twist iron rods with his bare hands. What clues does the author provide to help readers understand the meaning of the word personally near the end of the tall tale? So let's go back and look at that. It says, then, I'm going to highlight that section here as we read. Then it says, then Joe Macarac personally made 2,000 tons of steel. What feature of the tall tale genre does this word represent? Okay, do you think he could personally make 2,000 tons of steel? No, he couldn't. So in that case, if I go back to this, I'm noticing that he has superhuman strengths. Somebody could never personally just make steel. Steel comes from iron, which has to be melted down. All right, so earlier in the story, the author says, still others say that Joe never slept at all. He worked 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Okay? Nobody can work 365 days a year. Yes, could you work every single day of your life? Yes, but could you work for 24 hours without sleeping? No, that's an exaggeration. Okay, and it also says that he, what was I going to say to you here? Oh, just going back to he himself personally made steel. Well, you can't make steel. That's a superhuman strength. It has to be melted down and then put into a form in order to be made into steel. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by my children that entered the room. Boys and girls. So, the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is I want us to think about the story that we read today, which was Mighty Joe Macarac, and the story that we read yesterday, Adeline. The story that we read yesterday was Feebled Feebledson. So, I want us to be thinking about how can we compare and contrast between these two stories? How are they alike and how are they different? So we're going to analyze the heroes. We're going to analyze the bullies or the challenges, the endings, and the author's message. We're going to try to compare and contrast these tall tales, and we're going to try to look for evidence from both of these texts. So that's what we are going to be doing today. So today I'm going to be assigning to you this right here. It's a poster that you are going to be completing. I would like you to do text boxes. Please do not handwrite in these boxes. Please do text boxes. You're going to answer these 4 questions. I need you to describe the hero, describe the bully or the challenge. It doesn't have to be a bully. It can be a challenge. Adeline. How does the tall tale end? And what is the author trying to say? So we're going to compare and contrast between those 2 tall tales. I want you to tell me the similarities and the differences, and I want you to use a text box to type out your answers. Please submit that to me when you are done in Seesaw. Sorry for the interruptions once again. I tried to lock the door, but that obviously didn't work.